Steps into it. Pass is caught. Diggs! Sideline! Touchdown! Unbelievable! Vikings win it!
Oh! He broke his ankles. Now he's got an entourage. And he's got a touchdown. He is Houdini. Going deep into the end zone and caught by Chase. Oh my goodness, what a grab! 34-yard touchdown throw.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to a very special edition of Dynasty Nation. We got 2 episodes coming at you this week with all 3 of us. We just had an information overload, so we decided we're going to do an episode here on NFL trade deadline and the impacts for our league too. And we'll get another episode with our recap and with our preview for week number 9. But with that, Mr. Kevin, Mr. Rich, welcome. How's your day going, Mr. Kev?
Oh man, dude, it's been a long week as it is, man. Every day it's just we're grinding away in school, man. But I look forward to this, man. Just talk some football. I'm excited to get into it, man.
Mr. Rich, welcome again. Another week on the show. How's it going?
It was great. It was a great week for both my fantasy team and for the Dolphins. The trade deadline day was nice to them, as well as, Tua and Waddle and the Cheetah performing super well on Sunday. So I'm excited to talk about it.
All right. So with the trade deadline here, we got some trades even just before the deadline. Let's get into all of these trades. So the first one I want to talk about, Kev, your man is from the New York Giants. Kadarius Toney is on his way to Kansas City, and all of a sudden he's feeling pretty good, man.
It's just funny how I literally asked Jason about him. So it was just like, what are the odds? I really didn't think they were going to move him. Like, obviously it was like discussed since the offseason, but I mean, honestly, I'm happy with the value the Giants got. I mean, he hadn't done anything for them this year. And we're winning games and we don't have a true wide receiver 1. And like, I even said it when we drafted him, it was basically the same role as a lot of other skill guys we already had, but you put his speed and like what he can do on the Chiefs offense, like that, that's what they do better than anyone, in my opinion. So, hey, I mean, I wish him the best. I mean, hey, Mahomes with another weapon, because Juju's on that 1 year. No guarantees he comes back. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, he's a speedster, but he's mid. So who knows, man? Maybe Toney really takes up a notch with Mahomes there.
Yeah, Rich, how you feeling about this? You think this is going to affect rookie Sky Moore at all?
Oh yeah, for sure. For Jason, it was like definitely like a bittersweet, because I think it kind of like plummets Sky Moore's value a little bit, but also Kadarius Toney was his guy. He said that no matter what happened, he would stay on his roster, even if he was complete bust. So I mean, this is good for him. I'm still kind of hesitant. Like Kadarius Toney, he's shown some flash, but he hasn't shown all that much. But if there's any offense that's going to unlock his abilities, it's definitely the Chiefs.
Yep, absolutely, man. I think with the Kansas City here, for Jason's sake, he's got 2 pieces, and he's just hoping one of them turns out to be like the next Tyreek Hill kind of player in that offense. So he's got 2 lotto tickets at it. See if one of them will pan out here.
Yeah.
All right, Rich, let's go to your Philadelphia Eagles defense. You've got, they add pass rusher Robert Quinn to the mix. Already a scary defense. How we feeling about the addition?
Oh man, like they're already one of the top defenses in fantasy, and they're already one of the best, like the best team in football right now. So honestly, even adding to it just makes them even scarier. They're going to make some noise in the playoffs. I know everyone's still talking about the Chiefs and the Bills as like those 2 top tier teams, but we really got to start throwing Philly into that mix, especially with this addition.
Yeah, Kevin, you got your Giants get to play them, and they got a pretty scary secondary, and now you're adding some pass rush to this. How are you feeling about the additions to the Eagles?
I still just utter disbelief that they're this good. It's crazy. Like, they've always been like a scrappy team. Like that, we always struggle against them, but now it's like we don't play them until like much later in the season. So I mean, that helps why we're have a solid record as of right now. But I mean, dude, Jalen Hurts, I mean, he's certainly taken it up a level this year. AJ Brown is certainly that guy. And dude, like, their schedule moving forward is looking pretty favorable for them. So to get that much better, I mean, there's a reason they haven't lost a game. I'm going to jinx them right now. They're going to go undefeated.
I like it. I like it. I'm just gonna pat myself on the back here of my Eagles going to the Super Bowl prediction from the preseason.
For real,
while we're here.
Yeah.
All right, going to our next trade on deadline day here. We got TJ Hawkinson on the move. Kev, your man's in Dynasty, going to the Vikings. With that news, though, Irv Smith also going out probably 8 to 10 weeks with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah. I mean, just on Hawkinson, I mean, like, I always love them, but I mean, now to go to a much better offense, like, I mean, dude, Hawkinson is very talented. I don't care what anybody says. Like, he is a very good tight end. The Lions just very mediocre situation. So I honestly think he's finally going to be unlocked and become that consistent asset, which we've joked in the past, Jim, just like what he is not at all. But honestly, I mean, I'm not expecting anything right away. Obviously, he has to learn the playbook, but he's going to be featured. Like, he just will. And I think he's going to overtake Adam Thielen very quickly as like the second option passing.
Rich, with the addition, how are you feeling overall about this Vikings offense now?
No, yeah, definitely has the ability to be super explosive. That's for sure. I'm sure Andy's on cloud 9. To bring it back to our league, it really just seems like this is the season where Jason can't catch a break, really depending on Irv Smith, like to be one of those productive tight ends for him in the future. I know he has a roster full of tight ends, but he was really the main one. And then, I know he was pretty sad in the, as he says, hello darkness, my old friend, every time this happens, which has been a lot this year. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely good for the Vikings. They're definitely looking to make the push. It seems like a lot of teams today said like, no, we're going for it this year because of all like the parity in the league, and Vikings are definitely one of those teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Hawkinson, I think, does get a bit of an upgrade here. Obviously, go from Jared Goff to Kirk Cousins. Will he be utilized as much maybe in that offense? I don't know when you got Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and Adam Thielen, but who knows? Maybe it opens up a little bit more and just another target for Kirk Cousins, man. Going on here to our next trade, Rich, your Miami Dolphins making some moves, bringing in pass rusher Bradley Chubb from the Denver Broncos. Out the door goes Chase Edmonds on the way. How you feeling about the move?
See, like when we first brought in Chase Edmonds, I was pretty hyped about it, but he hasn't really been utilized at all in the offense. So like we definitely needed help on defense, and I know our secondary is still suspect, but our offense is so explosive that sometimes all we need in these games is a stop. And in these tight games, putting pressure on that quarterback, it's really gonna like come down to that at the end of the day. And I love that we didn't stay pat where we were. We're a good team already. I love that we didn't stay pat. We're definitely going for it.
Kev, you have some experience dealing with this Broncos backfield here. So how do you think this is going to pan out with Chase Edmonds added to the backfield there?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's just like he's a good player, man. He's just like, I mean, after a while, Mostert kind of took over in Miami. So it was like he kind of was not even necessarily in the doghouse. Just, was underutilized, just very inconsistent. You couldn't really expect much. Goal line back low key for them. But I don't know, man. Denver's a mess. So in terms of Edmonds for him for this season, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Latavius Murray's there, Melvin Gordon. So it's just gross. So in terms of fantasy wise, like I don't expect much, like a flex at best, honestly. But moving forward, I mean, who knows, man? If Javonte is struggling to come back, like, I mean, anything can happen, man. We'll have to see.
Yeah, I think this it's a little weird though, because Chase Edmonds, when he was in Arizona, seemed like a big pass catching back, and it seems like almost the Dolphins didn't want to use him in that role at all for some reason. So now he's
too many weapons.
Yeah,
that's
but you got a Hill and Waddle, really,
and Gesicki. He's good for a few.
Yeah,
it's hard to get him involved.
So Edmonds now going to Denver, maybe get a little bit of that pass catchy role, especially Mike Boone's on the IR for them. Kind of seemed like he might have been taking that role. So just a lot of mouths to feed right now. Melvin Gordon, Latavius Murray, and Chase Edmonds.
Yeah,
it's going to be a few weeks, I think, to figure out how this is really going to pan out for this season.
Gross.
But Rich, to add, after they get rid of Chase Edmonds, they do bring in another running back. They also get Jeff Wilson Jr. from San Francisco. How are we feeling about that running back now?
All right, now before I sound like a dumbass, Jeff Wilson was playing with San Francisco last year, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's familiar with the Mike McDaniel offense. There's a rapport there already. There wasn't a fit with Chase Edmonds, so I think that he's going to come in right away and just make an impact. Definitely have a play as like that passing running back, and then also in the running game. He's shown to be pretty effective this year. They got CMC, which pretty much made him super expendable. So I appreciate them for just doing it and sending them our way.
Yeah, Kev, you got anything to add on this part of the trade here?
Yeah, dude, coming into the year, I was like, San Francisco always was able to get production out of their running backs, and like Jeff Wilson was always, pretty good. And McDaniel, he liked to run the ball. He was very efficient at that. Goes to Miami. I was like, okay. I figured Chase Edmonds is going to be that guy. I didn't think Raheem Mostert would be anything. But now, the way it's looking now, dude, he likes to utilize his backs. So now, like Rich said, you add a guy who is familiar with that scheme and Jeff Wilson. He definitely could have an impact. But I guess we'll have to see to find out. But it was definitely good for him, for his stock, for sure.
Yeah, with Jeff Wilson going, I can only think that means Elijah Mitchell is going to be ready to return after their bye week this week in San Francisco. So we'll see how much, they get him involved after adding CMC, what his role truly is going to be.
Yeah.
But next, Kev, let's go to another defensive trade here. Chicago Bears trading away star linebacker Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens.
Dude, I'll be honest. I remember, Jim, I think we talked about this either early in the offseason or right when the year started, but it was rumblings are coming out he wanted out.
Yeah, he asked that to get traded.
And, here we are. So he got what he wanted. And Baltimore overall, they, we always expect them to have a good defense. Overall this year, not so much. But you had a guy like Roquan Smith. Dude, the Ravens, dude, that division, honestly, it's as we just saw from last night, Monday Night Football. That division is up for grabs. You know what I mean? And the Ravens certainly seem to be ready to take it, I think. It's going to be fun. That division is definitely going to be a fun race. But yeah, real good move for the Ravens.
Yeah, when they get a second-round pick, and then they go ahead and trade a second-round pick, Chicago, to get Chase Claypool in, Rich. Your man's on your dynasty team. How you feeling about him going to Chicago?
At first glance, the Bears, they're just a stink cesspool of a franchise, it seems. So I saw names in the trade market of maybe going to Green Bay, maybe these teams with great quarterbacks, potentially acquiring Claypool. So when I first saw that he went there, I was pretty upset about it. But then I looked at it, they are a team with a young quarterback, still figuring it out. Past couple weeks, they played pretty well. And if you look at their receiver core right now, besides Mooney, they got practice squad players playing.
Nothing. Yeah.
So I think that Claypool's going in there. He was the wide receiver 3 for Pittsburgh after Pickens came in and pressed. I think Claypool is going to play almost 100% of the snaps with this offense. And, that just means opportunity. And, even in any bad offense, if you're getting that opportunity, there's always more touchdown upside and just big play upside. And I think Claypool actually gets a boost up from this.
Absolutely. Kev, you got anything to add for Chase Claypool?
I was just going to say, man, I completely agree. The Bears passing offense is very mid, but Justin Fields seems to be turning the corner a bit. Obviously we got to see how consistent this can be. But he is playing well right now. But yeah, man, like you said, with Chase Claypool, he is a very crowded offense as it was behind 2 other guys. And yeah, he's got a rookie quarterback. So it was and then before that, Mitch Trubisky, who was very mid. So, we'll see, man. Yeah, exactly. But we'll see with Justin Fields, man. I'm still not sold on him. But he is definitely, like I said, he definitely is turning it around. Claypool will get the opportunity. Always a touchdown threat. Could be paired nicely with Mooney, who's more of a speedster. So definitely could be interesting for sure.
And they gave up a second-round pick to get him, which means that there's investment in him already.
It's very true.
So I think that they definitely plan on utilizing him not only now but in the future.
Yeah,
totally touching on that, the second-round pick, I almost thought it was a little bit of an overpay, but I think it had to do with them trying to defend against Green Bay, also trying to get Chase Claypool. It was kind of we need a wide receiver, and also we don't want to face this guy in our division in the future.
Yeah.
All right, so with that, let's go to another trade here. Kev, Calvin Ridley suspended this year, but he's on the move, man. He's going to the Jacksonville Jaguars. You're patiently waiting for him to come back next season. How are we feeling about the move?
I'll be honest, I was stunned to see that he was moved. I could not believe it. I thought for sure Atlanta was going to wait for him to come back. It really seemed like they needed that other true solidified threat on offense to be paired with Pitts, to be paired with London. I guess not. But just kind of what we mentioned with Claypool at the second rounder, correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Atlanta got a conditional second.
I believe it was a conditional
Like a two picks.
third or fourth. It could at best, I think it could be a third this year.
Okay. I thought it was a second.
Well,
So
if Calvin signs with them long term, it becomes a second. That's
Okay.
what it was.
Okay. So I'm gonna assume that it becomes a second because I feel like he's gonna think, oh, they're giving me this chance, like I'm gonna fucking ball out, whatever. So that's the case. I mean, I don't think we have to really have a whole conversation who's a better receiver between Claypool and Ridley. Like, I mean, it's kind of a no-brainer. So to see what the Jaguars gave up, like, dude, like, I mean, I feel like the Falcons made a huge mistake. I mean, I just feel like they were like, all right, you know what? We'll just get rid of him. The Jaguars are a rebuilding team. I mean, we look at guys like Josh Allen. Not like there was once upon a time, Josh Allen, we're not sure, and then they got Stephon Diggs, and really like became who he is. It really, from the arrival of Diggs, that's when he really turned that corner and became like elite or started that path. Now, I'm not saying Trevor Lawrence is a guarantee slam dunk to become elite, but I mean, I'm just saying it, he had all the hype in the world. I mean, maybe he is truly a bust. I mean, that's yet to be seen, but hey, the coaching staff believes in him. They've been doing all they can to help him. This new regime. And then now they're getting a guy like Calvin Ridley, who obviously will be back next year. Dude, I still think Calvin Ridley is a top 10 talent as a wide receiver, just what he can do. Like, he's phenomenal. Like, his tape is unreal. Just watching him, like, he's a great player. Receivers getting older. He's still in his prime. I think this is great for the Jaguars, great for T-Law, and great for Ridley because, the Falcons, with Desmond Ridder and Mariota, I mean, who knows, and I mean, T-Law at least has, that investment and they're trying to give him all that he's got. So, I think in the end, I feel pretty good that it'll work for the Jaguars, work for me. So we'll see, man. I did not expect it, but great move for the Jaguars.
Yeah. In the end, I think it was more Atlanta wanted to, get rid of this headache that they have, he had the year before where he didn't really want to play. It seemed like he almost wanted to be traded to. Then he has the suspension, so it's kind of like they were just over it. They were taking the best price available to get him off their hands.
Yeah, I think he's like out of sight, out of mind, though. Almost, it was like that's why I didn't expect it. It was like we're not even thinking about him. He would have been under contract, but hey, I mean, I guess they were just like screw it.
I mean, to your point, they had a trade already lined up before the suspension happened. So yeah, they were already looking to move him before that even happened.
True.
But Rich, looking at the Jaguar side of this, going into the future here, T-Law gets another wide receiver in Ridley to go alongside Christian Kirk. How you feel about Trevor Lawrence in the long term here?
No, yeah, I definitely think with the Jags offense, like they have a lot of like good young pieces there. With ETN, really turning it on now. I think the one thing they were missing really was that future like wide receiver one, like Kev said. And Kirk's been playing that role and he's been playing it decently, but I think we all know that he would truly be better served as like that second option in the offense. So I think that going forward, I like that they maybe took advantage of his market price being low right now.
Mm-hmm.
Went for it, say, all right, this is not our year anyway. There's too many great teams. Let's focus on next year, because if they waited till the offseason, that price could have went up for him. So yeah. I like the move all around for the Jags.
Yeah, absolutely. Another trade here, Kev, affecting one of your guys, Nyheim Hines, on his way to the Buffalo Bills in exchange. Zach Moss, one of the players, going back to the Indianapolis Colts. But how do you think this Buffalo Bills backfield is going to shake out now?
I mean, I'm biased, but I think he immediately makes James Cook like irrelevant for the rest of the year. I think Nyheim Hines is one of the best in the league at what he does, which is just a specialist third down pass catching back. And the Bills were clearly trying to utilize that, as a threat in their offense. And but yeah, I mean, I think Hines is a great player. Obviously, the Colts are awful this year, unfortunately for me. Yeah, I think Hines is going to do great. I mean, I'm not expecting anything crazy out of him, but I think he's going to be a better, as I like to say, real life player than fantasy. But to be in that offense, I mean, the touchdown upside will be there. I mean, even with the Colts, I mean, he was averaging like 4 or 5 catches a game. I mean, now you put him on the Bills, and I mean, Josh Allen throws the ball maybe more than anyone right now. I mean, or top 3, you know. So, yeah, I think just great move all around. The Bills are just trying to get even better, and they did.
Yeah, Rich, you've got Zach Moss, I noticed, stashed on your bench still. I was trying to look to see if you had cut him at any point. Was gonna maybe pick him up on the waiver wire this week. But how are you feeling about Zach Moss now going to Indianapolis, maybe getting a better opportunity than where he was in Buffalo?
I mean, he's Zach Moss. I don't really have that much. He's honestly only still on my team because like the trade that I did to get him, which is just like I was hoping that it's not hoping, but like in case something happened to one of the backs in Buffalo, maybe then he could be traded for something. But like Taylor's been having like a pretty rough year in terms of injuries. He's still one of the best running backs in the league, for sure, maybe the best if you ask Kev. But like he's been going down, and maybe as we go into the end of the year, if they're really not competitive, like maybe save those legs a little bit for him, and like they give Moss a couple burns, and maybe he'll help me on my my run here.
Yeah, I think he might have a little bit of a chance. He's actually, I think, going to be the prime backup instead of being one of many. So
Yeah.
he's got a little bit of chance to be, change of pace back, get into the game a little bit now at least. So something to keep our eye on as we move forward. No trades here, but might be pretty noteworthy. Kareem Hunt and Brandon Cooks both were projected to be traded today, and neither one gets a move here. Rich, what do you think about Kareem Hunt staying put in Cleveland?
It's definitely going with the theme of like just the real life NFL just shitting on Jason. He was really panning on that to try and like send him to a contender for like let's be realistic. If he went to a contender, Jason might have been able to get a first for him. Like, just we know how good Kareem Hunt is. Yeah, he's old, but like he also doesn't have like the reps on him playing behind Chubb. I mean, like I get it for the Browns, when with Deshaun Watson coming back soon, like that's their main thing, is that running attack is just so lethal. Like if you got to rest Chubb, like you have no break for that play. So yeah, I mean, I'm not honestly all that surprised. But yeah, it was definitely interesting to see.
Kev, on the Brandon Cook side, are you shocked to see him staying in Houston, or are you also kind of expecting him to stay put?
I think it was a big mistake by Houston. From all the reports I was reading, because I know the Giants were like heavily linked to him. The Texans were asking for like way too much, and Joe Shane was just like, "All right, you're crazy." I mean, he's a good receiver. He's been great. Good. Well, yeah, he's had great moments, but he's been good his whole career. Very consistent. But I think the Texans were asking for like a second rounder plus, and it was like, nah, man, he's like 29, 28, 29. It was just like, and the Giants are not in a position where they're a wide receiver away. They do need a wide receiver, but I think they're better served to use that pick in the draft. So I agreed with the Giants not pushing for it. But yeah, I think the Texans made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I did see one report that going down to the 4:00 wire that Houston and Dallas were actually pretty deep into talks about making a move for Brandon Cooks to go to Dallas, which would have been interesting. So, but apparently they weren't really super close, but they were trying to work it out all the way up to that 4:00 deadline.
Texans were just overvaluing the shit out of them. Whatever. Their loss.
So with that pretty much wraps up anything trade-wise from the NFL. One bit of news here. Bateman, he's out again. Another foot injury. Another shit on Jason moment.
Dude, guy can't catch a break, man.
Oh. Yeah, so
Lamar can't catch a break either, because they also didn't get him a receiver today. So
true.
So like, is Lamar going to be out of there? They didn't give him his money. They're not giving him his weapons.
Yeah,
they got him someone on defense, but the Ravens aren't looking like one of those top tier teams this year.
Yeah. Quick note on that. I remember some people in our league, they were shit talking Hollywood Brown. And I mean, before he got hurt, we saw what he was doing. I think Lamar could use Hollywood Brown right about now. That's all I'm saying. But it's my guy, OG. So.
Yeah, you think they trade for Roquan? He's on the last year of his deals. That's another guy. If they're gonna make a run, or if they're gonna keep next year, is that gonna eat into the possible Lamar Jackson money?
I think Lamar's out of there, man. Honestly.
All right. So with that, we did have a couple of dynasty trades break this week. Couple big ones here. Let's start with Jalen Waddle, Rich. Jalen Waddle going to rags to riches along with Noah Fant, a 23 third and a 24 third. In exchange, Justin's getting DJ Moore, Eno Benjamin, a 2025 third and a 23 first belonging to Mr. Rogas. So, Kev, being you weren't a part of this deal, looking on the outside in, how you feeling about this move?
So I just want to say overall, my pick is gonna be more and more valuable as the year goes on. So I mean that's great for Justin as he had absolutely no future at all. So that's like the biggest part of this. Obviously, you're swapping Waddle and Moore. Waddle being the better player. But I mean, I still am very firmly a believer of DJ Moore. He's been having finally like back-to-back great weeks. And he's one of my favorites, man. But overall, obviously, you'd rather Waddle. I just thought overall it's great trade for both sides. I mean, Richie's stringing together some good wins. He's definitely ascending this year, so I think this makes a lot of sense. Noah Fant, I mean, I'm not crazy about him to be totally honest, but I mean, solid depth. He's better than Cole Kmet. I can give you that. Yeah, man, I think Rich as a Dolphins fan, and then to have Waddle, who I think he said this in the chat, but I totally agree, like a top 5 or whatever you said, top 5 dynasty receiver. I can't argue with that, man. So I thought it was a great move for both sides.
Yeah, I'm on Rich's side for this. I just think Waddle is like the premier player that's going to one team in this that really is going to overshadow in the end. DJ Moore for me is just too inconsistent. I know it's maybe not necessarily all his fault. It's kind of the QB play in there, but the 23 first probably going to be in the middle somewhere, maybe late, depending if Mr. Rogas here can make a little bit of a push, but we will yet to see that.
I've been trying, but I don't think it's going to happen, man. Everyone overvalues the crap out of other players, man. It's so annoying. So whatever.
But Mr. Rich, you want to take us through how this trade came together with Justin?
Yeah, so it was actually completely. I'm so surprised it happened that day. From the moment I joined the league, you know how active me and Justin are about making a good deal. But he had always said to me that Waddle and the quarterbacks that he have are the 2 untouchable pieces. As a matter of fact, when I hit him up about Waddle, he told me in that moment that he was untouchable. But guess what? He was touchable. So like at first, like I was just kind of seeing, like I was basically telling him where I viewed where his team was at, like I think that he was like, he realized that he was in a rough spot, and maybe he wouldn't get the value out of certain teams that had the assets he wants for guys like Mike Evans, Mari Cooper, guys who are already older. The assets that he wants are from the rebuilding teams like myself, like the picks. And he agreed, and then we found something that came together here. I didn't want to put DJ in the deal. I was personally trying to get rid of Wandale and like maybe boost some pick value there, and like we were almost there with it. But then like he came to his senses, I'll say to him, and he said, I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable replacing a guy like Waddle unless it was with someone like DJ Moore, who, yes, supremely talented, but honestly, I just got sick and sicker of questioning, like, what am I going to get from this guy? When I love Jalen Waddle as a Dolphins fan, and even beyond that, I looked at the construction of my team here, and I see Devonta Smith and Ayuk as like 2 potential wide receiver 2s going forward, or what, if you want to say wide receiver 3, that's fine. What I was missing on my team was a wide receiver 1. And I believe that I got that with Jalen Waddle, not only for this season, but for seasons going forward. He's only 23. And it made my nucleus even younger. I got the youngest team in the league, I think. And yeah, I definitely love just the direction of my team.
Absolutely. I thought it was a great move for you going forward. But lastly, our last trade that came through here, Run CMC making some moves here. Make some trade with the saddest man to bring in Joe Mixon, Dalton Schultz, Aaron Rodgers at a 24 second round pick. In exchange, the saddest man gets Kyle Pitts, Justin Fields, Michael Carter, a 25 first, and a third round pick in 2023. So what do you guys think? Rich, let's start with you. What do you think about this move for both of our teams here?
Now, definitely immediate reaction was that it was like dead even. Going like thinking about it for like the sheer ass, like what Fields can potentially turn into, especially what he's been flashing, what Pitts can turn into, and then what that first can turn into. Now, as a rebuilder myself, that all looks very attractive. Like, that I was talking to you about Fields and Pitts as well. It's very attractive, but like I totally understand it from your perspective of you. Andy's team is stacked, and you need whatever you can to compete to win this year. Like, you are going for it this year, and I totally respect it. Long term, it may look like Bobby ends up winning this or not winning this, but at the end of the day, what does it matter if you win the chip this year?
Absolutely. Kev, you got any thoughts to add?
Yeah, basically, like, obviously everyone knew you were obviously going for it. You're a top 2 team and you were shopping Kyle Pitts. I just think, like, I don't know, man. I think overall, I definitely like Bob's side more. I think Kyle Pitts, I mean, he just, we'll see about the quarterback situation long term with him, whether that's going to actually be Ritter or not, or someone else. But I just think Kyle Pitts is a guy that, like, in terms of like dynasty assets, he's still, I think, I would say like top 12, even though this season hasn't been great for him. And Aaron Rodgers, I mean, he's just retiring next year. So kind of a head scratching to me for that. But I mean, Joe Mixon, I still think he's good this year. And Dalton Schultz, solid. And you did get a second. So, I mean, overall, it makes sense. I totally get where you're coming from. But long term, I definitely really like it for Bob, for sure.
Yeah, letting go of Kyle Pitts finally was definitely tough. But, at the same point, he hasn't reached the point where I feel comfortable playing him every week as my flex, and he's not going to, replace Travis Kelce at this point.
Right.
So at this point, I felt like I needed to, if I was making a push, he was the premier asset that I had that could be moved. Yeah. So he goes on, and I will say I am still a Kyle Pitts believer. So it will hurt to see him, especially if he grows to be what I expect him to be on of all people, Bob's team.
Yeah.
I will say that after it happened, I do wish that maybe I was a little more pushy on letting that 3-team trade happen that we had spoken about, Jim. Just looking at the package after. But, I think it's still a great trade. And, I trust in Njoku. I think he's a great – maybe he's not what Pitts can be one day, but, like, for a fantasy tight end, I felt comfortable staying there. So I couldn't throw it all out there for Pitts.
Yeah, to spare you guys with the full details, there was a potential 3-way trade, and let's just say Mixon wasn't the prime target for my running back core. It was Josh Jacobs that I was going for. So, but nonetheless, we couldn't reach an agreement, and Joe Mixon is coming to the squad. And let's just say, let's go Bengals, man. We got Burrow, Mixon, and T. Higgins in the fold now. Planning on making another big push. But that pretty much is going to wrap up this episode, guys. I mean, any news or anything you want to add before we get out of this episode?
Just want to say a quick note, because we didn't mention it during Richie's trade. Love that now, just overall the stack, Tua to Waddle. I think that's awesome. That's
another big reason I made the move.
Yeah, I think that's going to be, and I mean, Tua, hey, say I'm a hater. It's all right. I think, OG on him, but hey, he's surrounded by a great offense. And I mean, Waddle ain't going anywhere. And I mean, I think Tua is proving to the organization, like, I am your franchise quarterback. Like, they took him over Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert's not having a great year. So it's a big year for Tua, man. And I mean, I think a lot of the doubters they're running out of things to say. So yeah, I think that connection for the next, who knows, man, 5-6 years at least should be amazing for you.
Yeah, for sure. Like that, people were kept saying, a little early maybe that Herbert was definitely the much better pick there over Tua. And I gotta say, with these numbers that are coming up here, maybe in a bigger sample size, but
yeah.
But we shall see. We shall see.
Yeah. Get Herbert some healthy weapons, and we'll talk. We'll see.
Yeah. All right. So with that, guys, make sure you guys comment below. Let us know what you think about some of these NFL trades at the deadline. Let us know about the dynasty trades as well. Which side you like, which side you don't. And with that, make sure you check out the second episode this week. That'll be coming right up. which will be the recap of week number 8 and previewing week number 9. So with that, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.